Welcome to Making Money with Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. With over 20 years of real estate experience and selling over 150 homes a year, Laura Sanders is the #1 RE/MAX agent in the state of Florida for 2021. Join us each week as we discuss how to make money through buying and flipping homes, to renting versus selling, and everything in between. To join the conversation, call in live. 888-994-4995, Studio A.
Hi everyone, welcome to Making Money with Laura Sanders, and I am your host, Laura Sanders. Every week we talk about something that will help you make a little money, save a little money, or maybe just help you navigate this crazy world we live in. And boy oh boy, as I say every week, it is crazy. The amount of things that happen on a daily basis in real estate makes me say to myself, never mind. Anyway, today with me I have Howard Weitzner with Weitzner Law. Did I say that right?
Close enough.
Okay. Say it the correct way.
Howard Weitzner. Good to see you.
Howard Weitzner. Welcome to the show. We're going to talk today about accident attorneys and how that works and how we can provide business to you and what a good source of business would be for you. So let's talk about what is going on in your industry today.
So personal injury is always evolving. About 2 years ago, up in Tallahassee, the state legislature passed a number of laws reforming personal injury and other forms of civil litigation. One big area that people don't know a lot about is the statute of limitations. That's the time within which, after an accident, whether it's a car accident, trip and fall, you have to file a lawsuit or get the case completely resolved. And they shortened it in half. It used to be 4 years, now it's 2 years.
Oh.
So time is really of the essence in these cases, and making sure that you get the medical care that you need and speaking with proper legal counsel.
Interesting. Okay.
In terms of other changes or things that are going on in personal injury, one big problem that we have in this state is the lack of insurance. Many people say to me all the time that they have full coverage. Full coverage is kind of a misnomer or a myth. You get what you pay for with insurance. And Florida is actually one of 2 states in the country that does not require bodily injury or liability coverage. So a lot of times after a crash, we start doing our investigation and find out even if the person had insurance, they don't have the right kind to help my client who's hurt. Other times they don't have enough. And that's one way that people can actually save money and protect themselves and their families, by having something called uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage. What that is your insurance to stand in the shoes of the person who actually caused the car crash and injured that person. Your insurance will then stand in their shoes and become responsible for whatever damages you've incurred.
Now, how much extra does it cost to have that? Typically, I know it's going to be different based upon type of car, what have you, or your driving record, but on average, if you're to add that on to a policy, what are you seeing on average?
That's not something I could really answer. That's more of a question for the insurance brokers. What I can tell you is there's 2 different types of uninsured motorist coverage, stacked and non-stacked. And basically what that means is stacked, you add the coverages based on how many cars you have in the home. So if you have what's called a 100-300 policy, that provides coverage up to $100,000 per person and $300,000 per crash. So if you had 7 people involved in the crash, they could each claim up to $100,000 individually, but only $300,000 would be paid out by the insurance company globally for the entire crash.
So let's go back, because
Sure.
that always gets a little confusing to me.
Absolutely.
So I have 100-300, right?
Okay.
I get in an accident and I have 6 people in the car with me.
Yes.
Right? I'm 1, 5 more people, right?
Correct.
Okay, we're all injured. We're all now seeking treatment.
So in that case, the most any one person in your vehicle could recover from your uninsured motorist coverage would be $100,000. But the most your insurance company would pay out to everybody in that car combined is $300,000.
Okay, so technically it would really be 6 divided by 300, technically. But if somebody's more injured than
Correct.
another, they might get 100, and if everybody's really injured,
then there's probably not enough coverage. And that's what happens sometimes is, unfortunately, you're all fighting over the same pot, the same money, and people are going to have to make some concessions. And the lawyers usually get involved at that point and talk to each other and try and work it out as amicably as possible.
But what if I have stacked? How does that change it?
So that's different.
Okay.
Stacked depends on how many cars you have in your home. So if you have a car, your husband has a car, your son has a car, and they're all on the same policy, we then add the coverages up for each car. So with 3 cars, we would turn a 100-300 policy into a 300-900 policy, meaning the most any one person can recover at that point is $300,000, and the most that they would pay out to everybody in the car would be $900,000. Now, typically, when you're talking about stacked versus non-stacked, that's usually not all that much per month on your premium. Usually it's only a few dollars here and there.
Okay.
And again, that's an important distinction there, Laura. That's only for uninsured motorists. You can't stack your liability coverage. Whatever you're paying for on your policy, that's the coverage you have no matter how many cars you have.
Okay. So let's say, for instance, I'm an adult, right? So let's say I have another adult in the car with me. Somebody that has no children, they only have their parents, but they don't take care of their parents. Like they're not married, they have no kids, right? They get hurt in the accident, they get killed in the accident. Mm-hmm. Can their parents sue you from the accident?
So there's a statute on point that talks about who in Florida can make claims after what's called a wrongful death. And it gets through a very complicated process where we have to open an estate, and then you have the statutory survivors, as we call it. I've had many cases in my career where, unfortunately, there wasn't a statutory survivor, meaning
a child that depends on them.
Correct. If the person who you're talking about in the hypothetical were actually providing financial care and service to their parents, unfortunately, not going to be able to make a claim in that scenario.
Wow. Okay. So I know somebody recently that had someone that they were in a relationship with kill themselves in their home. Can they go after their estate?
So that's a difficult question.
Because now they've damaged their home's worth less.
Again, whenever we have a potential case as lawyers, our job is to find out all of the facts and do a real thorough investigation. So I'd want to know a lot more about that, particularly surrounding the circumstances of the death. If the person took their own life, ordinarily we'd be saying, who's responsible for that? Well, the person who took their own life, right?
Right.
But if that person had known violent tendencies and the homeowner left a handgun unattended and out in the open, potentially we can make that claim against the homeowner.
Interesting.
We live in and work in personal injury in this world
Even though they might have broken into their home? Because they're not living there.
I thought you were talking about somebody living there.
No, they don't live there.
Different story.
Yeah, they went there because
to
they were upset with the person.
Okay.
And that they had gone away and said, well, if you go away, I'm going to kill myself. And the person followed through on it.
So again, in personal injury work in terms of reasonableness, my job is ultimately to hold people responsible and accountable for their actions, for their wrongs.
Right.
Did this person do something wrong by leaving? Well, I don't know. I'm not in their shoes. I don't know the history of the relationship.
That's crazy that you could even take it to turn it over onto that way, right?
I'll take you back to...
Interesting, because it's like, what do you say? What don't you say?
I'll take you back to law school.
Okay.
At my first day of orientation, the dean stood in front of this lecture hall of 400, wide-eyed students and said, "You'll never be able to talk to your mother the same way again." And what he meant was, you're never going to look at normal interactions the same way. You look at it as, that's crazy. I look at it as, well, what else happened? What history did that person have? Did this homeowner have knowledge that the person not only threatened to kill themselves, but could have acted on it? Meaning, had they had attempts like this in the past? Was there something in the home that they used to do so? There's all sorts of different scenarios there that could result in some liability.
To the homeowner, where I thought this would really result in the person damaging the homeowner's home by creating, because listen, once the neighbors know that this happened in your home, like now it spreads like wildfire.
Sure.
Like, we're not required in real estate to disclose a death. However,
Right, you have that mandatory disclosure on the contracts and everything, but that's not on there?
No, it is not a
Interesting.
required disclosure.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is not. It's not in this state. I believe California might be. I think that if you have like the outline of a dead body on the floor, I do think that might be definitely. You probably want to disclose it.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Err on the side of caution there.
Yeah, I mean, but no, we're not required. But it's like, is it ethical, non-ethical? Like, it gets, to me, it's all just so very gray,
Sure.
right? What do you say? What don't you say?
I always tell my
I'm not
clients,
selling this home, so I'm just asking,
I always tell my clients, I can deal with problems that I know about. You might as well be honest from the get-go, because at some point it's going to come out.
Right. Yeah, but it's funny, like, you do claims for accident claims. There's also attorneys that do claims for insurance, like for homeowners insurance, like claims that have been denied.
Sure.
And that's another thing where you have to be very careful on how you speak, because if you were to say, they ask you, how long has it been leaking? Oh, well, I've been away out of town for 3 weeks and I just saw it when I came back. Well,
Right.
now you've left your home. It could have been leaking for 3 weeks and you didn't protect so it's like, technically, I guess you should be having someone come in your home every day while you're away.
I don't know about that. What I can
But
tell
you get what I'm saying.
I do get what you're saying. And what I can tell you is, one misconception that people have about accidents and claims like this is your case starts before you call a lawyer. The minute the occurrence happens, the case is started. So just yesterday, actually, I drove up to Orlando to meet with a potential new client and sign up her case. She was involved in a trucking accident. And one of the first things she said to me was, my insurance lapsed before the crash, but don't worry, I called them and reinstated it. Well, that doesn't help you for the crash. It's what's on the day of the crash.
So, and you drove all the way up there and now really there's no case.
Well,
there is if they have insurance.
Correct. I'm still going to look into the
But then
trucking
she was still
company.
driving without insurance, which
Correct.
is another problem.
It's an issue. No case is perfect, and we can deal with those issues.
Mm-hmm.
To your point with the homeowners, my wife and I had a flood in our home, 10 years ago, and it was a big problem. We were gone for the night, but the next day we reported the claim. We had a remediation team out there, and the insurance adjuster was at our home taking pictures and speaking to us. Anything you say at that point, you've heard that expression, anything you say can and will be used against you. We're not in criminal court, but it's the truth. The insurance company's out there not to necessarily help you, but to gather information and try and keep the amount that they pay out on that claim lower.
Right.
So you got to be careful, and I always recommend that people have an attorney with you before you talk to the insurance company.
Interesting.
Another example of that I'll give you. Many, many times in my career, I've been practicing for over 20 years now. I've had people call me and say, I was in a car accident, I went to the hospital from the scene, and an adjuster from the insurance company came into my room and offered me $5,000 and said they'd like to pay for my medical bills. I'm telling everybody who's listening or watching right now, don't take that offer. You don't know what your injuries are on day one.
No.
And that happens. And if you do sign on that dotted line and take that money, there's a very good chance your case is over at that point. You only get one chance to make a claim in Florida. Once you settle it, it's full and final. You can't come back, ask for more, say you didn't get enough.
Interesting.
In slip and falls, I've had many people call me up after they were in a grocery store, and the insurance adjuster called them a day or two afterwards and said, "We're so sorry this happened. We'd like to offer you a $500 gift card." And people say, "That's great. Thank you. I'll take that." And they earn a customer for life, but you just lost your potential claim. And unfortunately, the way injuries work, over days, weeks, they start to set in a little bit, and the pain could be worse than you think it is.
Right. So when we come back, you had mentioned something about, we're going to go to commercial break, but you had mentioned something about that you only have a certain amount of time to finish the claim. So let's talk about that when we come back. We're going to see our sponsors. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
At JK Closing Attorneys, we do all of the same things that a title company does, but with the benefits of being a law office. We can help with residential real estate, short sales, commercial real estate, refinances, 1031 exchanges, and FRIPTA withholding.
Contact JK Closing Attorneys today at 954-332-3111. Again, that is 954-332-3111.
Priority One Credit Union of Florida is a welcoming credit union that makes your financial success our number one priority. We offer lower loan rates, higher deposit rates, and common sense local loan approvals, with nationwide access through shared branching.
Hi, I'm Dina Hennessy, President and CEO at Priority One Credit Union. We are open to the community. Anyone can be a member of our credit union, and we would love to have you.
Contact us today at 954-335-5100. You can also reach us at PriorityOneFL.org. Your financial success is our priority. That's 954-335-5100.
You have been watching Making Money with Laura. For more information, contact Laura Sanders at 954-650-0827 or visit her website at laurasell.com. And now back to the show.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Making Money with Laura Sanders, and I am your host, Laura Sanders. Today I'm here with Howard from Weitzner Law. I don't want to say it wrong. We're talking about making claims, and if you get in a car accident, I don't even, slip and falls. I don't know if you do medical malpractice.
Absolutely.
Oh, great. So, because I know sometimes people are like, they change the bucket, right? So, and I would imagine medical malpractice is a very hard, especially with a lot of laws that are going into place. But before we get into medical malpractice, let's talk about, you had mentioned earlier that there's a time frame that you have to finish a case. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. What you're referring to is called the statute of limitations. Every legal claim in Florida is subject to one or more of statutes of limitations. And what that means is you have a certain amount of time from the date of the occurrence. That could be a car accident, a trip and fall, in things that I do. It could be a breach of contract, when you're dealing with homeowners, things like that. Every case is subject to a statute of limitations. That means you have to either have the case fully settled, or a lawsuit filed, or your claim is barred, meaning lost forever. So time really is of the essence in these things. Now people think, 2 years, I have plenty of time to file a case. You do, but time really is of the essence because a lot happens during those 2 years. And if you call an attorney, 2-3 weeks before the statute of limitations runs, they're going to look at that case and say, I'm sorry, there's a lot of work that needs to be done here, and at least be hesitant about taking on that case.
Okay.
Time also matters, particularly in car accident cases, where you have something in Florida called personal injury protection, or PIP. Have you heard that term?
Yes.
Okay. So what PIP does is it provides the injured person the ability to go get medical care. Your insurance company will pay 80% of the reasonable and necessary medical bills up to $10,000, provided that you see a doctor within the first 2 weeks.
Okay.
So that can be going to the hospital, primary care doctor, urgent care center, even a chiropractor. As long as you're seen by any medical provider within those 2 weeks, you're now entitled to get your PIP coverage. A lot of times, though, people, say, I have work, I have a young family I'm taking care of, I have other time commitments. Some people just don't like going to the doctor. And unfortunately, if you don't go, you lose that coverage.
Okay. So you said, though, the case has to be settled by a certain time
Correct.
as well. So how does that work, especially like COVID? Like, how did that work?
COVID didn't really change our practice too much, aside from the fact that we couldn't meet with our clients in person.
Right.
The statute did not change at all. You still have to get that case resolved within that statute of limitations. Now, what happened was, I believe it was just after COVID in 2023 when Florida changed the negligence statute from 4 years to 2 years.
Okay.
So that just created a little bit of havoc where we had to move a little bit quicker.
So you have to be filed and settled within 2 years?
One or the other.
Okay, so if you file within 2 years,
Then the case is up to the judge. The Supreme Court has issued some mandates saying that most cases need to be ready for trial in 18 months from the date that you file a lawsuit. So in theory, crash happens today. What's today? August 19th. So I would have 2 years from today, we'll call it August 19th of 2028, to either have the case settled or file a lawsuit. If I file a lawsuit, we're still working to get that case resolved. I mean, most cases will resolve at some point before trial. Not many people actually get the privilege of seeing the inside of a courthouse.
Or via Zoom?
Well, no, most every trial is going to be in person now.
So how often are you going into trial?
Not very often.
Okay.
Okay, but there's a lot of work that goes into it ahead of time. We're talking hearings, depositions, things like that. We are in the courthouse, just not trying the case.
Okay.
But you have about 18 months, according to the Florida Supreme Court, to have that case on the courthouse steps ready for trial. So in reality, that's 3.5 years to actually settle the case.
Wow. What's a good number for people to reach out to you if they're looking for someone? If they get into an accident, they need representation. What is a good number for people to reach out to you to?
So my office number is 954-271-3028. Now, when I do represent somebody, I give them my personal cell phone. And a lot of people kind of recoil at that idea. And the reason I do that is because I'm trying to put the personal back in personal injury. I believe in that attorney-client relationship, and I tell my clients, I'm here to work for you, and I'm here to help you. So if you ever have any questions, you need to reach me, call my cell phone. I'd love to say it's on 24 hours a day, but there is a point at night where I do turn it off.
You fall asleep, you don't hear it,
It happens, but I do return the call the next morning.
Okay, great. So let's talk about medical malpractice. We don't have much time left, but
Sure.
Tell us how you can help somebody with that. When is a time that it is a good idea to reach out to you?
So medical malpractice is its own animal. As you said, it's a little bit different than your run-of-the-mill car accidents and trip and fall cases, and there is a specific statutory framework. It is a 2-year statute of limitations, but we can't just take on a new case today and file a lawsuit tomorrow. I could do that with a car accident case, I can do that with a trip and fall case, I could do that with a breach of contract case. Medical malpractice, we're required to do some investigation. We have to obtain all the medical records and have an independent expert that we retain review those records and give us a sworn opinion that the doctor fell below the standard of care. It's a very high burden to meet. And what that means is the doctor failed to do something that a reasonable doctor would do or did something that a reasonable doctor wouldn't do. Those cases are honestly few and far between. Just because something goes wrong with medical care or you don't get the outcome that you want. People always say, I had back surgery, it was the worst, I came out worse than I went in.
A guy that did my tiki huts for me, they severed his, I don't know what it's called, but it connects to where you go to the bathroom to poop.
Okay.
And they severed that. So then he didn't know when he had to go.
Well, I'm very sorry.
It created my tiki hut to not get finished. But I was mortified that could actually happen.
A lot of things can happen in a medical setting. But again, it doesn't mean that it's malpractice. So we really have to evaluate these cases very, very carefully. A lot of doctors in Florida are uninsured. And these cases are very, very expensive and very, very time consuming. Sometimes it can cost tens of thousands of dollars that the attorney will advance just to determine, is there a case?
So because we're running out of time, if a doctor owns property other than their homestead, can you go after that if they put it into a company name and they're the owner of the company or a part owner of the company? Can you go after it?
It really depends on the circumstances. Doctors...
And they don't have E&O insurance?
Well, it's called liability insurance, and if you listen to the doctors, it's very, very expensive, and many of them choose not to have coverage. And that discourages a lot of people from pursuing claims. But, if somebody's truly injured and aggrieved and going to be battling these problems for the rest of their lives and needs hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of future medical care, for your friend's example, who is doing the tiki hut and is now using a colostomy bag, those are the types of cases, loss of life or limb, where let's hold the person responsible and we'll worry about collection later.
Okay. Well, again, if you're looking for somebody to help take care of your claim, because I'm not Channel 7 to come up with these great things, where, they say, one of those, catchy little phrases, but if you're looking for representation for somebody, you've been in a car accident, you've been in a slip and fall, you've been in some kind of medical malpractice, definitely want to give Howard a call. You can reach Howard at
954-271-3028.
And if you're looking for a top agent, and I know this is off topic today, it's not about real estate, but hey, we're in the car driving all the time, and my fellow agents definitely need to know what to do if you've been in a car accident. You definitely need to give Howard a call. It happens all the time. We spend so much time in the car. And like I said, like always, thank you so much for listening and watching Making Money with Laura Sanders. And until next time, make it a great one.
Thank you for tuning in for Making Money with Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. To join the conversation, call us at the studio, 888-994-4995 Studio A, or contact Laura directly at 954-650-0827. Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. We look forward to seeing you next week.